Welcome in to Outkick the show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I appreciate you coming to join me here on Outkick the show, which is presented by OddsShark. Go to OddsShark for all your gambling or informational related needs. And I hope you're having a fantastic Thursday. I hope that you're all going to get rich off my 14 gambling picks, which you can see up on the front page of Outkick right now. And I hope with the money that you will be making off of my gambling picks, you will surge out into the housing market and you will be able to buy a new home and get a bigger house than you had before, to pay a bigger mortgage. And if you do that, I hope that you'll go to my friends, The Home Loan Expert. TheHomeLoanExpert.com. Go there today. If you like me, if you like Outkick, they sponsor the Anonymous Mailbag. They'll get you hooked up with the best possible mortgage. If you're paying too much, they'll refi you all over the country. You are going to be hooked up, and it will be pretty fantastic. So if you trust me at all, you need to go to thehomeloanexpert.com and get hooked up now. Thank you for the feedback on the shirts. Go sign up for Outkick VIP. You got tons of Outkick shirts out there. By the way, we're going to be adding one for Florida to go with the hurricane relief. I'm just about to cut the check for the Texas hurricane relief, and now we are going to be adding one for the state of Florida, and we will be able to be off and running. I am Clay Travis. This is Outkick the show. Thank you for all the people out there who follow me on Twitter and also listen to the radio show. We set an all-time high for downloads of the radio show already this week, and it is only Thursday. Okay. One of the things that I like to do is deconstruct how we end up in the place that we're in. And I think I do a pretty good job of that. And so in this story, I want you to think about this and follow me along on this theory, okay? How did we end up in a situation where ESPN is ridiculously having to issue statements multiple times, where Jemele Hill is after having to issue multiple statements? How did we ever end up here in the first place? How did we get here? One of the reasons I like golf is because in golf you learn an important lesson. Unless you got a foot wedge out and you're moving your ball, every shot has consequences. Every decision that you make leads to the next consequence. And if you go back and look at where you started to play the hole, you say, okay, I ended up in this bunker because I hit a bad first shot that led to a bad second shot, which led to a bad third shot, okay? And everything flows from another situation. And this is what I said when ESPN decided to suspend Curt Schilling because they disagreed with his position on transgender bathroom laws in North Carolina and other conservative political viewpoints he had taken. Let me ask you a question, and I'm curious if anybody can give me a good answer. When did we get in the business of assuming that that any individual employee was speaking on behalf of his company? Think about that. And I'm going to take you back, and then I'm going to come back to this question. I live in this house, okay? I'm doing this show right now from my house. It's a mansion. I'm rich. It's a good life, all right? 8,000 square feet. I got the whole third floor to myself. The only floor in this house that I speak for is my third floor in my mansion. If I right now said, this household feels this, the only floor I could speak for is the third floor because it's the only one I'm on right now. My wife voted differently for president than I did. She voted for Hillary Clinton. I can't even say my household is a Trump household or a Hillary household because I voted for Gary Johnson. Everybody, by and large, if you're anything like me, doesn't even speak for your whole household. I wouldn't even go out and say, hey, I speak for my household when I say X. My wife would say, what? No, you don't. I've got my opinions, and they're a lot different than your opinion. In fact, I don't agree, my wife would say, with at least half of the things that you believe. Okay? Now let's expand it. Let's say that you do speak for your household, that you and your wife or you and your significant other have the exact same opinions and all your kids have the exact same opinions. Let's expand it. When you go to Thanksgiving dinner, how many of you out there could show up at a press conference right after Thanksgiving dinner and announce something that was substantial that everybody at Thanksgiving dinner had agreed on? Could you walk out and say, hey, guess what? At this Thanksgiving dinner of 20 people, we unanimously agreed that abortion should be or should not be legal. Odds are that would be almost impossible for any actual family. Okay? It would be almost impossible for any family to actually end up in this position where you could even speak for your entire family. So, think about this. How is it possible that anybody could actually, I don't know what this guy's saying. How is it possible that anybody could actually end up in a position where everybody out there is having the exact same opinion? You couldn't speak probably for your household. You probably couldn't speak as well for even your Thanksgiving dinner. Okay? So, I'm asking you this question for this reason. Why did we ever start the theory that a company needed to come out and say, hey, this employee doesn't speak for us? And by that I mean this. Imagine if when everybody out there was upset at ESPN on the left wing over what Curt Schilling was saying, imagine if ESPN had said this. While we appreciate the fact that everybody on social media believes that everybody should have the same opinion, we have 10,000 employees in the business of putting on sports events. This may shock you, but all 10,000 of them do not agree on every single subject. And so, we've elected to continue to employ Curt Schilling because we don't think his political opinions influence whether or not he's able to analyze baseball in a good fashion for us. Imagine if they had said that. Imagine if they had come out and said that. It would have cut the legs out from everybody out there. Okay? It would have cut their legs out completely, and it would have set an important precedent. We still have public and private lives. And you don't have to assume that everybody's public and private lives are always out in public. This statement was shocking to me. When I read ESPN's second statement, second one they put out on Jemele Hill, and I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to read it to you. And I want you to analyze it because this is the big question. The big question that I have, let's get outside of the particulars of this situation. How did you ever end up in the position where you had to be in the business of saying that you accept apologies? How did you ever have to be in that business? Jemele Hill's put out an apology. It didn't make any sense. ESPN's statement was as follows. Think about this. Jemele has a right to her personal opinions, but not to publicly share them on a platform that implies she was in any way speaking on behalf of ESPN. Who out there believed that Jemele Hill was speaking on behalf of ESPN when she called the President of the United States a white supremacist? Did anybody out there thinking like, oh, she's speaking on behalf of ESPN? So what does that mean? She has a right to her personal opinions, but she can't say it on Twitter? Now, again, I disagree with her. I think it's an idiotic statement. I think it made no sense. By the way, I also agreed with Curt Schilling's perspective. I'm, generally speaking, going to be opposed to far left and far right opinions. But Curt Schilling's opinion about transgender bathroom rights was actually shared by a lot more people than Jemele Hill's opinion that Donald Trump is a white supremacist. But read this statement. Jemele has a right to her personal opinions, but not to publicly share them on a platform that implies that she was in any way speaking on behalf of ESPN. So she can't ever say what she actually believes? She can only speak privately at Thanksgiving? What is a platform that would not be connected to ESPN? If one of her family members periscopes from dinner at Thanksgiving and she says during the time when she's cutting the turkey, sticks her middle finger up and says, fuck Donald Trump, and then that goes out on Periscope, is that speaking on behalf of ESPN? Or is that her sharing her personal opinion, right? Right? I mean, what if it is a Snapchat that she sends to a friend and then that friend broadcasts it again? What I'm getting at here is I still believe that you can have a public job and a public opinion that is not connected to that job. Now, if Jemele Hill came on television and she said, today on the 6th, fuck Donald Trump, he's a racist motherfucker, all right? Fire her. fire her on the spot, okay? Same thing would be true if Curt Schilling came on and he said, fuck, today on Baseball Tonight, fuck Barack Obama. He wasn't born here and he's a Muslim. Fire him, okay? Because then your distribution networks are directly sharing political opinions. But in their private life, when Curt Schilling goes on his Facebook page or Jemele Hill is on her Twitter page, shouldn't you have the right to have political beliefs and not have them connected to your employer? Don't all of us have those beliefs? In other words, if I come on right now and I say, hey, I'm Clay Travis. You know all my political beliefs. I'm straightforward with you. I say every day. I said it on the radio show this morning. My name's Clay Travis. I'm pro-choice. I am anti the death penalty. But I also believe that people who have guns should get to keep them. All right? Those are 3 opinions of mine that are controversial. Some of you are going to disagree with me. It's probably unlikely that I just changed your mind with my opinion on abortion right there. It's probably unlikely somebody said, you know what? I hadn't thought about Clay Travis from that perspective before. I'm not sure what I was unsure about abortion, but I just changed my mind, right? And this is my favorite thing about Facebook. Like, I didn't know what I thought about who to vote for president, but then Aunt Gladys pointed out that maybe Barack Obama is a Muslim, and my whole world is blown. I got to reconsider everything. Or, on the flip side, Aunt Lurleen came on, and she said Donald Trump is a pussy-grabbing, sexual harassing motherfucker on Facebook. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm not going to actually represent for Donald Trump anymore. Nobody does that, right? It doesn't actually happen. But think about how we got here. Don't think about what's going on now. Be smarter than that. Think about how we got here. We got here because ESPN put themselves in the business of policing employee speech. And this is something that I think has been accepted across the nation. And my question for you would be this. Why? Why do we have a position where a lot of people believe, okay, that an employer should have to say, no, I don't agree with them, right? Like, why in the world did we ever get here? Why did we ever get to this position where things like this are going on, right? I mean, it's actually pretty interesting. I think it's really kind of fascinating. How did we get here to this situation? It's because, I would argue this, the networks became way too solicitous to what's going on. Way too solicitous to what is going on in this universe of political expression. Why do we care? People say, oh, I liked the Dan Patrick era at ESPN. Oh, I liked Kenny Mayne. Oh, I liked all those things. But let me ask you this question. Would those eras have been different if social media had existed? I think they would have been. Those guys all had political opinions. We just didn't know about them, right? We just didn't know about them at all because I can tell you right now, every single person who works at Fox Sports 1 right now, I could tell you what their political bent is, who they voted for, Republican or Democrat. I don't think your opinion of whether you agree with me or not on who the best team in college football actually ends up with an impactful situation on my opinion on abortion or gun rights or whether or not the death penalty should exist. I don't think that impacts my ability to do my job. So I think ESPN has 2 jobs right now. I think ESPN has 2 opportunities out there facing them. One, they can go back and reverse field, go back and hire Curt Schilling and say, you know what, we were wrong. We shouldn't be in the opinion. We shouldn't be in the business of worrying about our employees' private opinions. Because now there is no distinction between public and private. That's the other thing I was going to get at. There is no distinction between public and private. Okay? There used to be a distinction between public and private. You could watch Dan Patrick on ESPN, and then when they left, you had no idea what he actually thought about in larger life. Okay? To me, this is indicative of the fact that you have to have a separation between doing your job and what you might believe politically. The moment that they start using the airwaves of ESPN to make political statements, then I think they're fired. But listen to that statement again. I think Jemele Hill was an idiot for what she said, but I think arguably this is even dumber. Jemele has a right to her personal opinions, but not to publicly share them on a platform that implies she was in any way speaking on behalf of ESPN. Nobody actually believes this. Nobody actually believes this at all. Nobody does. Nobody believes that at all. And so as a result, the reason that they believe it is because ESPN put into place this idea that she is speaking on behalf of ESPN because they set the precedent with Curt Schilling that they were going to fire people based on their political opinions. Think about it. Think about how crazy that is. That's why people are going around looking at statements made on Twitter and arguing, how is ESPN allowing this to happen? Because they set the precedent with Curt Schilling. That's why people believe that her speech directly impacts ESPN, because they set the precedent in place of allowing their determination of what's appropriate and inappropriate to exist. It's an awful precedent for everybody out there. And ESPN is just an easy example. How many thousands of people have been fired for what they posted on Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, or Instagram outside of work hours? Why? If you have a controversial political opinion, that's your right. You shouldn't get fired from Walmart because you go on there and say, we got to build the fucking wall, and if we don't build that fucking wall, there's going to be too many Mexicans in America. Like, I don't agree with your opinion, but you certainly have the right to give that opinion, all right? I am a proponent of total First Amendment protections for speech, especially when it's political. The reason why there's so much angst in this country now is because so many people don't feel comfortable saying what they actually believe. And so I don't buy into that. Somebody says, oh, it hurts business. Bullshit. It doesn't hurt business. That's a total fallacy. Look at United Airlines. They dragged that doctor off the plane. They spent a month dealing with the fallout. The most recent quarter, they just announced record revenues. Look at Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A people are like, oh, it's going to hurt their business because they came out against gay marriage. Motherfucker, try to go get a sandwich from Chick-fil-A fast. You can't do it. Do you know why? Because they're good at their underlying business. Social media is a bunch of loser jerk-offs who claim that they're going to change their behavior and never do. Right? It's a lot of losers out there like, I will never shop here again at Chick-fil-A. You know who's in line right now at Chick-fil-A? Thousands of gay people. Because they're like, on the one hand, it sucks that Chick-fil-A doesn't want us to get married. On the other hand, they make a fucking good chicken sandwich. I'm going to go get a chicken sandwich. If you do good work at your job, which is your business, then what happens outside of your business doesn't matter. All these businesses are worried, oh, people are saying bad things about us on Twitter. Fuck you. Who cares? Everything that's said about you is good for business if you do good business. Motherfucker, go look at what's being tweeted about me right now. And I'm fucking Scrooge McDuck diving into a gold bullion vault. I got a beach house and I might buy another beach house. Doesn't matter if people dislike you if you're good at what you do. Focus on your business. Don't focus on bitches who are upset at your business. ESPN's business is making sports more fun than it otherwise would be. It's not to have a bunch of people sitting around debating Colin Kaepernick's genius or whether he's a modern day Rosa Parks. You know what's going on? You know what the other underlying story is here? The ratings for the Six are shit. Here are the numbers. I got them for you. Here are the last several days. I'm going to read them to you. Most people don't have access to these numbers. I got them. The last 3 days before Jemele Hill went off on Donald Trump. Ratings have tanked. They're down over 20%. On Wednesday, going into last week, they had 397,000 viewers. That's down from 574,000 viewers last year. On Thursday, they had 457, down from 537. On Friday, they had 280, down from 304. The market is voting, and they are saying your show is shit. That's why she was so mad about Donald Trump. She's trying to get out of ESPN so she can get a gig outside of sports because nobody's fucking watching her show. That's the truth. That's actual data behind why she's angry. It's not white supremacy. It's your show sucks. That's the truth. These are actual facts. The numbers are collapsing. Why are the numbers collapsing? Because ESPN is trying to serve an audience that doesn't exist. They're trying to serve Twitter. And one of the first things you have to learn when you're in the media business is if you're trying to make money off of what Twitter likes, you ain't going to make any money. Because Twitter likes things that nobody else like. Twitter's the person out there who says, oh, I don't like Bud Light. I like this obscure microbrew that only makes 100 a year, right? Fucking people drink Bud Light, okay? Taylor Swift's popular for a reason because she's fucking good. Bud Light's popular for a reason. Beer's cheap and people like to drink it. Gonna go drink your microbrew, that's great. But the truth of the matter is the market speaks and the majority always rules, and the majority is saying they don't care. So pretend that I am replacing John Skipper. Let's pretend that ESPN comes to me on bended knee, which they should do, by the way, and they say, Clay Travis, you have single-handedly destroyed our business model and all of our brand equity by pointing out what total and complete idiots we are. Let's pretend they come to me on bended knee, just like Jon Snow to Daenerys. I'm the hot chick in this example. That's probably not a good example. They're the ugly guy who's kind of sucks. Jon Snow's too good looking to be ESPN. And they put themselves on bended knee and they say, what should we do? I would say, first of all, I'm not going to tell you until you cut me a check for $25 million. All right? So go ahead and cut me a check for $25 million. Let's say they cut me a check for $25 million. Cheap compared to what they pay for the NBA. And they get better advice from me. All right, they cut me a check for $25 million. I'd say, all right, first of all, fire John Skipper. You got to fire John Skipper. He's an idiot. He has completely collapsed your business. He's tanked your brand. He's made Clay Travis filthy rich. He's allowed David, a.k.a. me, to slay Goliath, a.k.a. them. I got my fucking slingshot, and that's Periscope and Facebook, and I'm pulling back the rock, and I just killed Goliath ESPN with it. So that's what's going on. I would say, look, you have to completely recalibrate everything that you do. First thing that you do, all right, you have to make a decision about social media. You have two options. Either you have to go back and hire Curt Schilling again, just like you did with Hank Williams Jr., and say, we're no longer in the business of worrying about what people say outside of their time when they're on the air with us. Everybody has political opinions. We don't expect everybody to agree with us. We're going to have a vibrant collection of different voices, not just people who look different, but people who think different also. And we want to have a big tent and an open policy that anybody can say anything, but we want them to be good at their jobs. As long as Curt Schilling is good at breaking down baseball, he can always work here again. We don't care about what he thinks about transgender bathroom laws. And similarly on the liberal side, we don't care if Jemele Hill thinks that Donald Trump is an anti-Semite, so long as she focuses on being good at sports, which, by the way, she isn't because her ratings are tanking and collapsing. Okay? That's one option. That's what I would do. I'm writing about this right now. The other option, more draconian but more interesting, maybe, is you say, from this point forward, anybody who works at ESPN is not commenting on politics. We are a sports network designed to make sports fun, and there's no point whatsoever in allowing our talent to get dragged into individual political debates. So, if you want to tweet about politics, that's your right. If you want to Facebook about it, Snapchat about it, everything else, that's your right. But we're not going to pay you millions of dollars to do that. You're gone. We're going to find other people who just want to talk about sports. We're not going to be in the business of sitting around here and getting weighted down in politics. I think either one of those is fine. But you got to pick one of those two options. The other thing I would say is stop caring what Twitter thinks. Stop caring what Twitter thinks. I wrote this a few weeks ago. The obsession with what Twitter thinks is ruining many aspects of this country. Okay? When you sit around all the time staring into what people think, I got to give Jamie Horowitz credit for this. He's now been fired at FS1, but he set me down. He said an analogy that made sense to me, and I'm going to give him credit for it for years to come for it. He said, Twitter is your opportunity to talk to people. It's not your opportunity to worry about what people think about you. If you are out walking on the streets right now, you don't walk up to somebody and say, hey, guess what? I'm on television. What do you think of me? If you did that, you would be a fucking loser. Hey, tell me what you think of me. Hey, tell me what you think of me. Hey, tell me what you think of me. You would be a total loser. You would look like an idiot. Okay? That's the truth. Yet that's what people do on Twitter all day. He said people may make fun of Skip Bayless, but he doesn't follow anybody, and all he does is use it as a distribution vehicle. It's the best possible use of Twitter. Now, I disagree with that, but it is pretty fascinating. Twitter doesn't reflect real life. Reminds me of when I wrote my second book, On Rocky Top. When I wrote On Rocky Top, I remember talking to administrators around the SEC. And they said, yes, we read message boards obsessively. The challenge is, do we treat those message board comments as reflective, or do we think them as real life? And what I have said is Twitter is a funhouse mirror, just like a message board is. It's not real. Yet ESPN now is programming based on what people say on Twitter, and that's like 15% of the audience, and it's not even a 15% reflective number of their audience. They are obsessed with what's trending there, with what opinions exist there, and in the process, they're alienating their audience, and the ratings of Jemele Hill and Michael Smith's show reflect it. And I've said this before. If you are an executive, and a lot of executives watch this show, a lot of executives at ESPN, Fox, it's going to shock you, CBS, NBC, they watch this show. If you're an executive, you got to your position of prominence at a company based on your talent before social media existed. You had big brass balls and you made big, bold decisions. Okay? Why would you suddenly now worry about what other people are saying or thinking instead of actually going out and making smart decisions? Why would you trust the instincts of people you don't know instead of actually making smart decisions of your own? It's a great question. Think about it. If you've got big brass balls and you got to a position of prominence now based on making good decisions, why are you going to go online and look at what some anonymous losers are saying and do something based on those opinions? Rely on your balls. Trust your instincts. It's what I do. That's the truth. All right. I love all of you. I appreciate all the time that you have spent. And I will be live tomorrow on the rest of the day. I love all of you. Go follow the show. This week has been the most downloaded week in the history of Outkick the coverage. I was on Headline News today. I'll be on Fox News this weekend. I'll be on CNN. I am everywhere. I'm also about to publish a really big story that I think a lot of you are going to like. Think smartly. Use your brains. Don't think about where you are. This is a big lesson. I talk about this a lot of times. Talk about it with my kids already. Don't think about where you are. Think about how you got there and where you're going. Okay? Good line is, don't skate where the puck is. Skate where the puck's going to be. That's how I got rich. Okay? But also, understand how you got to where you got. Right? That's the truth. I am Clay Travis. This is Outkick the show, the most dominant sports media in all the country right now. We are driving pretty much everything that you see every single day. I appreciate you. You guys are fantastic. Kisses. Go sign up for Outkick VIP. Go to OddsShark for all your gambling and informational related needs. And boys and girls, I got to tell you, make sure that you go get your mortgages at thehomeloanexpert.com. I love all of you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me. Appreciate all the people from ESPN watching this show. I love all of you, even though your bosses are fucking idiots. I'm Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the show. Don't be pussies.